Black Scully on check. Got a little black tea on check. Welcome to another marvelous episode. On today's docket, we're going to get into the news segment. We got 6 interesting games that we're going to kind of simply recap before we get into our deep dive recaps for the week. This past weekend of college football was truly phenomenal. And this is something you're going to see on one of my lower thirds. These last few weeks, we've had the outstanding ability to be able to really stick it to the AP poll voters. But after this weekend, they're going to have a difficult job. And I want to caution everybody with saying that. And then I know there are those of you who are going to listen to this and say, no, they don't. They have an easy job. All they got to do is rank the teams. Anybody can do it. This weekend, we have questions that need to be asked. Who's the best team in the Big Ten? You're probably going to say either Ohio State or Penn State. But who's the best team? I'm asking you now. Take time to answer that. SEC, who's the best team in the SEC? Because there's an argument for Vandy. There's certainly an argument for Bama, even with the Florida State loss. Is there still an argument for UGA? Ole Miss, Texas A&M, here they come. So there's a lot of teams that we can say and think of when we start talking about who the best teams in said conference is. So that's the question I propose to everybody. Also, on today's segment, Hold This L, Week 5 edition. I think this is really gaining some buzz. I think a lot of people really like this segment and enjoy this segment because I'm not afraid to call any person of the media out. I'm not afraid to call any coach out, any player out. Most importantly, I'm not afraid to call myself out because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to always be honest. So, Hold This L, Week 5. I think you guys are going to truly enjoy it. Also, we got reactions from the Magnolia Bowl. Watched the game in its entirety. Thoroughly enjoyed it. What a great weekend for college football. Not just Saturday, not just Friday, not just Thursday. This was an outstanding week of college football, and it continues to get better. Each week after I think I've seen it all, and we've done it all, each week gets better. We, heading into the season, we were so excited about week 1. It got better week 2. When we didn't think we had a lot of great games week 2. It got better week 3. It got better week 4. And I'm like, no, nothing can eclipse week 4. Week 5 said, excuse me a moment, hold my beer. Week 5 has been the best week of college football we have seen. Also, we're going to react to the Bama UGA game. There was a lot of surprises this weekend. I don't think there's a game that surprised me more because I hold Kirby Smart in such high regard. And I'm like, he'll finally get this monkey off of his back. Had opportunities last year, had opportunities yesterday. We're going to react to that game. And also, Oregon and Penn State got me angry. It got me so angry. And you guys know I'm a Buffalo Bills fan in the NFL. At the collegiate level, I root for all the local teams. If UVA playing, I'm going for them. Virginia Tech, I'm closest probably with any school in this area. Well, that's not fair to say because Maryland credentialed us when we won. Liberty does the same. I do not care to go there at the moment. No disrespect. JMU is the same thing. But this Penn State game got me angry. It got me really hot. I'm just so frustrated with Andy Kotelnicki at the moment, even though I think he's a great play caller. It's just that we almost had a mantra that's really going to kill me. So we got a lot to talk about today. Governor of College Football, hashtag go CFB. CFB Nation, your only college football destination. Let's get it. Governor of College Football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's CJ
defensive
on
minds. They have to be better on that side of the Alrighty, let's get into the news. We got this Georgia Tech Wake Forest game. This was another game I watched entirety. I took another idle week this week. I could have went to this Wake Forest Georgia Tech game. I could have also went to the Louisville Pitt game. I was credentialed for both, but I was talking to Moon, and I thought that with the amount of games we had this week, and this really is going to be probably every week, but after the great slate we had a week ago, I explained it to you all in Governor's Travel and how outstanding that Governor's Travel episode was, explaining to y'all, me waking up, me making it to IAD, me flying into Atlanta, and then the 3 games we went to, and how it's almost mission impossible trying to get to all 3 games. I was like, such a great week last week. We're not going to be able to top that. Let's stay at home, and let's watch some really good college football. And I enjoyed it, and I enjoy all of these games. This game in particular really frustrated me. And I don't want to say it frustrated me because it was a bad game. That wasn't the case at all. In no way, shape, or form was this a bad game. It was actually an outstanding game. But I feel like something that we've been dealing with the ACC for the last couple of years is just bad refereeing. We've been dealing with terrible refereeing. I'll give you a couple examples. Remember last year, Virginia Tech beat Miami. A lot of you are going to be like, well, Governor, no, they didn't. Miami won that game a year ago. Well, yeah, they won with the Zebras' help. If we're going to be honest, if we're going to call a spade, they won with the help of the Zebras. That's how they won the game last year. Let's look at this past Friday game. I was elated that Virginia won because it kind of told me and it gives me an idea of the mantra. One of the mantras on the show, you know, we got a lot of them. No more victories. Do you watch college football or do you just skim through it? You know, another one of our sayings is no more victories. And it's frustrating when you are watching a game and watching the refs get involved. And that was a continued theme. The Ole Miss and LSU game, the Magnolia Bowl, was almost unwatchable, right? And we had a moment in this game. We had a moment in UVA game. I'll get to that before I get to the moment in this game, where Duce Robinson's touchdown was initially called touchdown on the field. Now, it was, you know, call was reversed. I love to hear what their thought process is. Watching it in the studio, listening to the ref. I think that's great. That's outstanding television. But here's what my thought process was. If you called it an incomplete on the field, the call should be upheld. Incomplete on the field. But if you called it a touchdown on the field, I don't think there was enough evidence that supported that, you know, and we're going to talk more about this when I get to the segment, but I don't think it was enough evidence for you to just say it was an incompletion. We had the same thing in a Georgia Tech and Wake Forest game, but a call not called. There was encroachment. You know, Robbie Asher made the smart play, continued to play, try to get a free one, but you know, it hurt them in the long run because it was an incomplete pass. So it gave Georgia Tech time to drive down the field and score, and which they did. But this game left me frustrated because they missed a call. If they call that call, Georgia Tech has no timeouts out, 3 nils, and they're storming the field in Winston-Salem just like they stormed the field in Charlottesville, and they did not get that opportunity because of missed call. Refs should never change the outcome of games. Now, I always say on this show that, hey, make sure you win it yourself. You know, that Andre Iguodala mantra that you win by 15, even if it comes to winning by 1, just so that you're not leaving it in the ref's hands. It's something that I've always said. It's something that I've always been, something I've always, idolized with, to be honest with you. So we look at this Georgia Tech game. Great game by Haynes King, by the way. You know, they're still unbeaten. I think they're 5-0 now. They were down 20-3 early in the third quarter. Demond Claiborne, if you haven't had an opportunity to watch him, we was able to interview him at ACC Media Days. When I say we, I really mean Jalen Wilson. Shout out to my dog, Jalen Wilson. Jalen was right about a lot this weekend, by the way. And that's why I love talking to the people that I talk to. My dog, D-Now, called a couple shots this week. Nino calls shots every week. I was probably more wrong than right this week, but I'm okay with that. You know, that's part of doing what we do. I go live 5 times a week. I'm going to be wrong. You know, when I say I go live, that's 5 hours of content. And now that I'm changing the format a little bit, we're going to go prime time. Probably be doing like 6:30 p.m. episodes now, and with a lot more uploads. So that's more content for everybody to see. So just want to change the approach a little bit, but I like it a lot. I'm also looking here at my top 25 as we had to submit our top 25 for CFB Nation. And it was really difficult to do. That's why I continue to say, hey, make sure you guys show grace, to these AP poll voters, because it's not easy. But Haynes King, dude. Haynes King is just one of those quarterbacks in the ACC that, when they're down and not out, his ability to run the ball, his ability to pass the ball, just to continue to gut it out. He's constantly playing through injury. He's one of the toughest quarterbacks in the country. And I just felt bad because, like I said, Demond Claiborne had an outstanding game. Back-to-back thrillers for, really Temple wasn't a thriller, but, when you go back to the Clemson game, Brent Key's ability to gut it out, that run the ball mantra, stick to who we are, win the war of attrition on the line of scrimmage, because he's an offensive lineman at heart. The fact that they're 5-0 for the first time since 2014, Brent Key is certainly at the top of my list when we start to look at Coach of the Year. Mario Cristobal deserves to be up there as well. And Louisville is quietly building. They're not getting enough respect. I've been talking about them since the preseason, so this is one of the teams where I expect them to be where they'll be. And I actually think they're going to win the ACC. I really do believe that. I thought they were a playoff team when I look at it, but they just have more ways to win than one. And that's what I like to see when I'm looking at a team. But, we celebrate winners on the show. Great gutty win in a hostile environment. You see the fans were ready to storm the field. I feel like all fans now, when they storm the field, they want to beat the way UVA stormed the field. We were generally concerned for Skrull White in the back of the end zone. We even seen tweets. Yeah, I love this time of the year because Twitter is amazing, X or whatever you want to call it. It is amazing this time of the year because some of the tweets you see people talking about R.I.P. Squirrel White. Like people actually like, yo, is Squirrel White legitimately okay? I've never seen people storm the field faster than I seen what happened in Charlottesville. And the bad thing is, Moon wanted me at that game, but Charlottesville, and I'm talking about UVA, their credential, they got the 10-day rule, and I got to tell Moon it's upcoming. I got to tell him today, there's no game I want to go to other than Maryland and Washington. I want to go see that game. You're talking about Washington just had a tough loss versus Ohio State. And Maryland, who's coming off a bye, Malik Washington looks like the real deal. He's looking like a stud for real. And I don't want to say Maryland has a chance in the Big Ten, but they definitely got a chance to have a really nice record. And I said coming into the season, Mike Loxley was on the hot seat, and they're doing everything that they can to prevent that. Also, we got Houston versus Oregon State, another great game Friday night, and Willie Fritz and Connor Weigman. I just love that combination. I really do. Stephon Johnson, I had the opportunity to interview him at Big 12 Media Days. A guy that I was really upset with was Tanner Kazole. After, I believe he was originally at Miami of Ohio, transferred to Wisconsin, didn't like the offense, transfer. I'm so glad that they're down to the one portal window now. I'm so excited about that. I'm not going to lie to you. But Connor Weigman's just ability to play with a chip on his shoulder. He can make a bad throw, and then he'll forget about it the next play and make a big play. Houston is 4-0, ladies and gentlemen. Did you have that on your 2025 college football bingo card? I continue to say that. Did you have X on your 2025 college football bingo card? And it's been amazing. It's truly been amazing. And the fact that I get to do this day in, day out, and just give my thoughts on a sport that I love so much, something that I would do for free, it's fantastic that we get this opportunity. So just shout out to everybody who support this show, always watching the show. Shout out to everybody who also sending me messages, asking me my thoughts about stuff. I truly do appreciate it. Shout out to the people that support me by, inviting me to their shows. I am Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and Dante gonna talk college football. And he gonna get angry, Governor, and he gonna enjoy it. I always enjoy talking to him because I think our approach to how we feel about everything, because he's another guy who does everything. He does a set design, YouTube title and description, thumbnail, coming up with all his notes. He does everything, and he also does it at the NFL as well. And while our approach to what our content should look like is very similar, I think our approach to college football is a little bit skewed. He's more into the advanced analytics. He's really, really outstanding at that. I think my wheelhouse is more in X's and O's, and I think we always get beautiful content whenever we get an opportunity to talk. But Oregon State had an opportunity to win this game. The fact that they're 0-5, right? And you look at everything that they do, and I commend Oregon State and Washington State, but both teams have just not looked that good to me this year. But I commend them for staying loyal to the soil. Pac-12 will be a part of the G6 ranks next season. But, the opportunity to win that game was there, and they didn't win. They just didn't win. They didn't handle business. But like I always say, we celebrate winners on here. And Houston is 4-0 for the first time since 2016, I believe. Was that the year? No, Ed Oliver wasn't a true freshman that year, was he? I think that was a couple years before he got there. But we got Cincinnati versus Kansas up next. And in the Pick'em League that I'm in, shout out to my dog, Road Dog, and his Pick'em League, X-Pop. I had a horrible week this week, but it's not having a horrible week and be mad at the picks that you made. I'm never really mad about that because I enjoy college football so much, and I'm okay when I'm wrong. It's just, survive in advance. You learn how to, pick next week. But Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield was on a hot seat heading into the season, in my opinion. You may not agree with it, but I believe he was on a hot seat 100%. And the way that Cincinnati has played this week, and Brendan Sorsby, there's a guy I would like to see in Mobile at the season end. But that was a feeling. I keep telling you guys this. Get to these media days because you get feelings about team, and it's weird. And it's almost like, well, you guys weren't really on my radar. Let's be honest. But after sitting down and talk to you, okay, I can see you're going to be serious. So Cincinnati is really a play away from being undefeated because they had opportunities in the Nebraska game, especially in the second half. So shout out to them. I do really feel for Lance Leopold and Jalen Daniels. They had opportunities, but they lost this game. So shout out to them. Virginia Tech 2-0 since Philip Montgomery took over the reins as the interim tag. You guys want to know what this reminds me of? There's a guy down in Atlanta, and Georgia Tech, Brent Key. I think a lot of people forgot that he had that interim tag as well. So Virginia Tech, I know they're going to do it right. They're going to consult with Bruce Arians. Hell, you might have found your head coach already. To be able to win the game that you won, You know what I'm saying? Philip Montgomery is 2-0 at interim, and you guys win this in Raleigh. Outstanding win. I almost want to go back to Blacksburg again. This is an outstanding win. I think sometimes what gets lost in the shuffle sometimes, we start to look at this, we start to say, oh yeah, Brent Pry was really a bad coach. No, he wasn't. Brent Pry is not a bad coach. That guy can coach football. His brother can coach football. His dad can coach football. So let's not sit here and say and blame him for everything. But I think what it did is it made everybody take a long look in the mirror. Hey, we just got a guy fired that shouldn't have been fired. And we got to look ourselves in the mirror for that to happen. So, of course, I'm sure Philip Montgomery, and this is his first year there. Oh, by the way, as the offensive coordinator, got the interim tag. I just think, he's probably lit a fire under them. So the fact that they're 2-0 since he became interim head coach, shout out to him. They edge out NC State in Raleigh. How do you feel about NC State? Because I was starting to feel good about NC State. I really like what I seen out of C.J. Bailey. But now it's like, okay, let's reel it in. You guys did just lose to Virginia Tech, a team that got mollywopped at home by Old Dominion. But Old Dominion's been doing that to everybody. What happened to Liberty? The embarrassment of me thinking they have the easiest schedule in the country. They should go 13-0 in their, with their schedule. They're 1-4. Jamie Chadwell. I said that. This probably his last year coaching at the G5 ranks. Buddy is probably going to be fired, dude. He just might. I'm just being honest with you. Back to the story at hand. Great job, Virginia Tech. Great job. It was phenomenal to see. A great scene to see. Kyron Jones. If it's a kid that I'm rooting for, it's Kyron Jones 100%. Just to be honest with you all. And it's hurtful to see, but I'm glad they continue in their winning ways. Also, we got South Carolina beating Kentucky 35-13. If you look at, I think the last 2 years, their total scores that we've seen, South Carolina has just dominated this team. And I don't know what it is about them because, a lot of us are starting to say, hey, what's going on with South Carolina? The North Stellars, and it's sad, South Carolina just need to, bunch the wins up together. The North Stellars continue to make Heisman plays. He made Heisman-worthy plays, my apologies. He made one versus Virginia Tech earlier in the season. I was at that game. We kind of broke out of a sack and had a long run. And in this one, it looked like he was done. He spent out of it, kind of planted his hand on the ground to keep his balance, and he was scrambling and able to get a first down out of it. So South Carolina looked really good this game. How are we feeling about Mark Stoops? Can we have a candid conversation about Mark Stoops? And it's heartbreaking because, I'm a Mark Stoops guy. I love what he's done for that Kentucky program. I don't think he deserves to be fired, by the way. I just want to put myself on record to say that because they are still a blue blood basketball program. Whether we like it or not, they're a blue blood basketball program. And I think he's brought some relevancy to Kentucky. The loss of Vince Morrow is going to really hurt this program. So I think if they do decide to move on from Mark Stoops, what does that rebuild look like? Because, now you're losing people who were like statues there for a very long time. And, you're rebuilding. Yes, your brand will sell yourself. Yes, playing at SEC will sell itself. I think NIL has brought a great deal of parity to the sport. You just look at all across the conferences. We have surprise team in each conference. I know y'all want to say, well, it's still early in the season. Yeah, a little bit past the first quarter of the season, but yeah, it's still technically early. But what I like to say is there's some teams we have in our top 25 and that are in our top 25 that we didn't have there originally. And let's be honest about it, So great job, South Carolina. Kentucky, I'm still trying to figure out what you guys are going to end up doing. I think you keep Mark Stoops, but I think you guys do need to get a hot shot at GM. And that's what Louisville did in getting Vince Morrow from you guys. Speaking of Louisville gutty win Pitt yesterday. For a moment, while I was excited to sit on my couch, eat really good food, and watch games, there was a moment there, I'm like, damn, I missed a double overtime in Winston-Salem where, Wake Forest should have been storming the field. But they were robbed out of that opportunity. And then I look at Louisville and Pitt. They were a damn back-and-forth game, and I love going to Acrisure Stadium. It's still Three Rivers in my heart, Hinesville to a lot of people, Acrisure to the people that are probably younger Pitt fans or Pittsburgh Steelers fans. And just great game by Louisville. So well coached. I think a lot of people probably don't understand, the love that I have for Louisville. They have the ability to possess the ball. Miller Moss will frustrate you at times, but I trust him when the money's on the line. And then their running game, Duke Watson, their spellback, and Isaac Brown. I like a lot of what they have to do. But, they were down 17-10 at halftime. Miller Moss threw for 339 yards, 3 touchdowns. And Louisville stormed back to beat Pitt. It's impressive what Louisville's been able to do. They're 4-0 this season. I think they're the team to beat in the ACC. I know a lot of people won't get frustrated at that. Well, come on, Governor. Miami is playing really well. Yes, they are. They absolutely are. But who do I trust more? even though the roster construction at Miami is probably better, especially with Carson back at quarterback and the job that Mario Cristobal has done, as far as recruiting to Coral Gables. But who do I trust more as a head coach, right? Do I trust Mario Cristobal more, or do I trust Jeff Brown more? Jeff Brown does more but less. I trust Jeff Brown more. I'm just being honest. That's our Into the News. Let's go ahead and get into our first segment. Is the first segment Hold This L? I believe the first segment is Hold This L. This is going to be very animated, y'all. Bear with me. All right, let's get to this next segment. Alrighty, so we got Hold This L. This is Hold This L Week 5 edition. We're going to get right to it. We got a lot to talk about, man. This is the segment that separates the contenders from the pretenders, the killers from the clowns, and a lot of times we like to clown and talk about these people who have embarrassed themselves this past week. Come on down to Hold This L. Arkansas, y'all lost 56-13 at home in Fayetteville, Arkansas to Notre Dame. It's not that you lost to Notre Dame. It's the way that you lost to Notre Dame. Arkansas. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all don't like to be called Arkansas because that's where I feel like Kansas come from. I ain't going to even get there. But okay, Arkansas, come on down to Hold This L. You didn't just lose to Notre Dame. You guys turned C.J. Carr into Joe Montana. Y'all turned C.J. Carr into Joe Montana. And you know what makes me mad is that my dog, Jalen Wilson, who I do my show, College Football Showdown with, always be like, there go the governor going a whole nother week without talking to CJ Carr. Well, here you have it, Jalen Wilson. I know you're somewhere out there. We're talking about CJ Carr now because Arkansas made this dude look great. And what's Jalen's favorite saying? Oh, well, if CJ's last name was Manning, they'd be hyping CJ Carr up like they'd be hyping up Archie Manning. And I love that he said that. That's hilarious, right? But, dude, CJ Carr out there looking like he throwing to Jerry Rice and Sean Taylor. That was defense optional that day? Did you go through any walkthroughs, Sam Pittman? Like, that is an embarrassment. Hold this L for a multitude of reasons. Brother, your seat is not hot. It's scorching. It's past hot. It's sizzling. And hold on. Wait. Stop where you're at. The floor is lava. Sam Pittman, anywhere you go is going to be lava, bro. It is hot. The smoke is rising in Fayetteville, and it hurts my soul. Year in, year out, the last few years when people said they wanted Pittman gone, guess who was supporting Pittman? I was like, nah, he'll survive this year. I don't know what's going to happen to you, dude. I really don't. You're holding this L for a multitude of reasons. You guys had an emotional loss last week against Memphis, and I get it. Memphis protects their home. Also, Memphis beat the crap out of FAU this past week. But the fact of the matter is, you guys lose to Memphis, they come back at home and just decide not to play. Nah, it's optional. Maybe we can still make a bowl. 56-13, CJ Carr lighting you guys up the way that he lit you guys up. Arkansas hold this L. Your punishment. Sam Pittman, you got to sit on the steel bleacher in July, bro. In Arkansas, in the middle of a hog roast, no water, no shade, just you, sweat, and regret. And maybe then you'll feel what your fan base is feeling after that embarrassment. Arkansas, Sam Pittman, everybody hold this L. James, we almost had him. Franklin and Penn State, y'all come on down to hold this L. James Franklin, James, losing to Oregon in overtime is the most Penn State way possible to lose. It really is. Like, watching Penn State versus a top-ranked opponent is like watching a movie Groundhog Day with Billy Murray. God daggone James Franklin starring as Bill Murray in Groundhog Day IRL. This is an embarrassment. And I was on a show called Overreaction Monday that I have to do every Monday. And I have some apologizing to do on that show. James Franklin, thank you. I looked at both of your teams. I said, I got Penn State by 10 points. I really did, and it's an embarrassment to me because of James. We almost had him. Franklin, like, when will you get tired of that mantra, dog? When will you get tired of that mantra? And then speaking of which, you got upset when somebody called you a fraud during the spring game. That fan, whether right or wrong, whether how you feel about it, is tired of having the teams that can win national championships, and they can't celebrate the way that they're able to celebrate in Athens or in Tuscaloosa, right? They can't do it, or in Columbus. They can't celebrate because of James. We almost had him, Franklin, bro. Your seat is high, bro. And I don't want to say you got the hottest seat in the country, dog, because there are some just coaches that deserve to be more on a hot seat than you. I mentioned one a little bit earlier, but how do you continue to have the talent that you have, the coordinators that you have, and continue to lose games, then walk up to Drew Aller after the interception, head up, like trying to motivate him, then you take blame, for the loss. You didn't have to take it. We was going to attribute it to you anyway, James Franklin. Hold this L, bro. Like, yo, excuse my French, everybody, as this show is everyone, but bro, dog, when you gonna let your nuts hang, man? You are a man, bro. Y'all be playing so scared. Granted, you did go for fourth down a little bit more than you typically go for fourth down, but Drew Aller had this look in his eyes, and I'm gonna talk about this a little bit later. This was after, Penn State scored. They went up in the first overtime. Oregon matched it. Then the first play of the second overtime. Touchdown on the first play. Camera flash at Drew Aller. That boy looked nervous. That boy looked like a hooker in church. It was bad, dog. It was real bad. Like, I am so sick of Penn State, bro. I don't even want to talk about Penn State. I really don't. But Penn State hold this L. James Franklin hold this L. Andy Kotelnicki, come on down, because guess what? You holding the L too. Dog, what is an offensive coordinator job? Coordinate. Say it again, Governor. What is an offensive coordinator job? To coordinate. Well, why does Andy Kotelnicki refuse to coordinate? And yes, you drew up some great schemes. That dime to Justin Ross, outstanding scheme. And then I don't know if we want to call it a jet touch pass. You get the fake toss with the inside handoff. That was a beautiful scheme. But 3 points heading into the fourth quarter, three, you're at home. What's the point of having a whiteout Penn State if y'all going to perform like that, right? And then Jalen also brought up a good point. Why do y'all have a whiteout, but y'all wearing y'all blue jerseys instead of wearing the all-white jerseys and make the visitors wearing their color jerseys? Like, why do you all do that? Like, what a waste of a night. What a waste of a fan base showing up, showing out in they all-white, being loud when it's time to be loud, and y'all put up this abysmal performance time and time again. I've hyped up Jim knows this had nothing to do with you. I've hyped out Andy Kotelnicki more than most have. And the reason I've hyped him up is because I probably understand schemes better than most people understand schemes. So they can sit here and say, oh, well, he's a bad offense coordinator. No, he's not. Like, y'all don't be knowing what y'all talking about. Y'all really don't. Oh, it makes him a bad coordinator. Like, what are you watching that say he's a bad coordinator? Huh? Was it like the Notre Dame game in the playoff where Drew Aller played abysmal and there were plays to be made and it wasn't X's and O's issue? It was an execution issue. Like, sometimes y'all just be saying stuff to say stuff or just to say what y'all think other people want to hear. Like, don't do that. Actually watch it. Actually look at the film and figure out what the issue is. But this game, there's a little bit of execution, a lot bit of X's and O's, a lot bit afraid to drag your nuts. It was a lot of bit of that. Dude, I am so sick of Penn State. Like, I'm tired of talking about it. James Franklin, hold this L. Andy Kotelnicki, hold this L. Drew Aller, the interception you threw, bro. Hold this L. Like, even if Thineman didn't pick it all, bro, that was a tight window you was throwing it to anyway, yo. Throw it out of bounds, live to play another day. Or throw it in the flat. Live to fight another day. That's one of those situations. Great scheme, bad decision by the quarterback. Love the play. Love the play call. Great scheme, bad play by the quarterback. So, yeah, you got to hold this L too. I'm so sick of people who are a coordinator, can't coordinate. A quarterback who can't quarterback. Like, dude, hold this L, bro. I'm so tired of it. So tired of it. And I don't even got to get them a punishment. They're a punishment enough. Penn State, you the laughingstock of college football right now. Brian Kelly and Joe Sloan, come on down to hold this L. You dudes, man. I think it's about time we all owe the guy, the reporter. I think his name is Michael Klopp. We owe him an apology. So I saw some members of the media, not me, who said that Brian Kelly had the right to be mad. After a big win, they beat Florida 20-10. After DJ Lagway throws 5 interceptions. Y'all happy about that? And Brian Kelly is mad about the question that reporter Michael Klopp asked him. But guess what Michael Klopp was doing? He said, okay, well, we got 5 interceptions defensively. Our defense played outstanding. All the offense could muster up is 20 points. And not to mention that they called back a 90-something yard touchdown reception by Sammy Ball. I think Mr. Klopp, the reporter, looked at that and said, well, there are going to be teams that 20 points isn't going to cut it. And you would never guess how many points. I mean, you will never guess in a million years how many points LSU scored in the Magnolia Bowl versus Ole Miss. 19, cuz. They scored 19 points, cuz. You will never guess how many points they scored. Yo, Brian Kelly, hold this L. And I know you apologize. And it's okay. Like, we know you apologize. So it was cool. But nah, dog. nah, dog. Like, it's bad. And then Joe Sloan. Like, you remember there was a guy that was a coordinator there before you by the name of Mike Denbrock, who had consecutive first team, like the best offensive all of college football. You remember that, bro? So Joe Sloan, hold this L. And I know a lot of people blaming you. Like, and Garrett Nussmeier, you got to hold this L too, bro. I need you to go back to number 13. Like, drop the 18. I know it's historically a good number, but you've been playing like crap since you've been 18. Go back to 13, bro. Because right now you're costing yourself millions, in the great words of Mr. Dennis Noel. You are costing yourself millions, Mr. Garrett Nussmeier. LSU, hold this L. Brian Kelly, hold this L. Joe Sloan, hold this L. Garrett Nussmeier, hold this L. Shout out to Ole Miss. Great win yesterday, Ole Miss. Let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Alrighty, so for our next segment, we have this UVA versus Florida State finish and the reaction to the game. I watched this game Friday night. We were talking in one of my CFB Nation group chats, and D Now called this shot. He said, will it be an upset in Charlottesville? And shout out to D Now. He called this one. He seen this coming. And, you know, looking at this game and looking back at it, and the way how fast they stormed the field is crazy. I had to show it. Like, it was one of those things, like, you all can decide to, you know, copyright me. I don't care. I'm going to show it. Like, it's just one of those things that just has to be shown. And, like, I can't show no, like, all-season footage how I typically show. It's just one of those things that, you know, I'm just going to show it, and, you know, people just going to have to deal with it, right? So, all right. So, looking at this game here, I have a lot of takeaways from it. And my biggest takeaway is I think some people are going to look at this game and overreact with Florida State. Oh, these guys were rated, 8th in the country. They went to Charlottesville, and they lost to a team that's not that good, and UVA not so fast. I know they lost. But I've been telling you guys the entire offseason, like, do you guys watch Governor College football, or do you just skim through it? Because now I got to ask the same question that I asked to everybody else as it pertains to, do you watch college football, or do you just skim through it? I've warned you about possible cannibalization in this conference because I thought that the middle tier was getting stronger, because I didn't think ACC had very much of a middle class, to be honest with you. I think we're seeing the same thing in the Big Ten. Middle class is getting stronger. Big 12 is pure cannibalization. But guess where else has happened, which is a huge surprise? It's happening in the SEC as well. So under the lights in Charlottesville, which is about an hour, maybe hour, 10-minute drive from where I am. I love the Charlottesville area, by the way. I had a preconceived notion about Charlottesville just because of an event that happened there a very long time ago. I went there and had a very, very different, you know, reaction to it. But, you know, 50,000 strong at Scott Stadium. That's the largest crowd that they've had in a very long time. And by the end of it, every single one of them was on the field. So you know how there's this, you know, clause with storming the field. And some teams have even said, hey, wait 3 minutes. You get them 3 minutes to get off the field. UEA was like, yo, we got money here. The donors got money. Boosters got money. Like, there's some rich people that live in Charlottesville. We will pay the fee to storm the field. And I've never seen it timed perfectly. Like, it's like they didn't even wait for the refs to signal whether, you know, it was an incomplete or not. It was just like, no catch, boom. Like, it was a blur, bro. It was crazy. The scene was outrageous. I think this was a program starving for a moment. They needed a moment. Great job by Tony Elliott. He deserved this win. Just to see them celebrate in the locker room, I think was pretty fantastic as well. Just a truly electric atmosphere. And one of the things I would like to talk about, one is that crowd. They showed up. They were loud the entire night. I think a lot of Florida State fans are going to blame Thomas Castellanos for this win. My dog Nino, it's like, yeah, he looked kind of like BC, you know, BC Thomas Castellanos here and there. I would say this: they're not in that game without Duce Robinson nor Thomas Castellanos. They're really not. And that defense, even though they gave up 46 points, so it's about to sound oxymoronic, and forgive me for that. But, you know, Chandler Morris, let's talk about him. The resilience that we've seen out of Chandler Morris. Incredible. The game wasn't completely pretty. It wasn't completely ugly either, because I think he scored 5 total touchdowns that game. But he threw 3 interceptions, and those interceptions were extremely costly, to be honest with you. They were very costly. So, he gave Florida State life on 3 different occasions, because I think they were up early, like 14-0, and he continued to give them life. And it's one of those things where when I'm watching games and I'm at home, typically I'm multitasking. So I have my setup. Typically I had a game on the big screen. Typically I got a game because I got a dual monitor set up. I typically have a game over here. And a lot of times you'll see me walk constantly from my station to the TV, from my station to the TV. And when we have a really good game, and it depends. Like this Saturday, it was being at my station. I was watching the games. But Friday night, it went from me sitting here in my seat to just moving over there and sitting at my U couch that you guys hear me, talk about with great deal of affinity, like Cliff Huxtable. But Chandler Morris showed outstanding amount of resilience in this game. Super proud of the way, he played, but, counted for 5 touchdowns, 3 rushing, 2 passing, including the game-winning 4-yard run in double overtime. Like, the scene there is amazing. And shout out to Ducey Robinson as well. I believe while they lost the game, and, you play the game to win, like John Madden used to say, I think that was an NFL game for him. I think when execs look at his size, they say, how do we use him at the NFL level? Do we add weight on him and make him a vertical threat tight end? I think that's a tape that say, hey, I can play wide receiver. I think that's 100% a tape because he made a lot of great plays that game. And there's certain games you watch like, damn, I feel for this player because this player played out of his mind. And, didn't quite work out for him, but, he played out of his mind. So shout out to Ducey Robinson. Shout out to Chandler Morris. Florida State missed a lot of opportunities. And I kind of talked about this in the cold open. But that Ducey Robinson, the touchdown that was called the touchdown on the field, then reviewed. I love seeing the way that they reviewed it, but then it was reviewed and it was overturned. And whether I agree with the call or not, it is neither here nor there. But what I will say this, I didn't think there was enough evidence. If they had called it incomplete on the field, there wasn't enough evidence to call it a catch watching this film. If they called it complete, on the field, there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it, if that makes sense. So that's just kind of where I'm at with it in my mind, that, hey, you called it a touchdown on the field. It should have been left a touchdown. I didn't think it was enough, evidence to call it incomplete. And I'm just being 100% transparent with you. I did not think it was enough evidence to call that pass incomplete. So that's probably one of the controversies in this game. I'm not sure if that's what Florida State's talking about. I think a lot of what I've seen Florida State fans, and I know quite a few of them, shout out to my dogs at Herb Radio station in Baltimore. I was on there a few Mondays ago. They're both Florida State fans. I seen them go live right after the game, so shout out to them. But yes, I think it was just like, one of those plays. If you want to look at controversy, that could kind of be it. But the thing that I love now is that you hear what the ref is thinking. You hear what the people that are back, at the headquarters, you hear what they're thinking as well. And I think that's pretty cool. So program-defining win for Tony Elliott. I continue to say that. You gotta give credit for him, the resilience that he had, because he was definitely on the hot seat heading into this season. I don't think that shocks anybody. But, some of the commentary we got after the game, he said that's what Scott Stadium is supposed to be like. So some kids that, local kids that probably wasn't considering UVA after a win like that, I'm sure they had some recruits there Friday night like, hey, I'm going to come play for this place. Because I think what you're going to start to see across the nation is typically all of, 5-star and 4-star kids go and build pipelines at universities. But some of these kids, like a JKS at Cal, they want to play immediately, right? Or what we seeing what Malik Washington, he said, but bro, I'm going to stay home and go to Maryland. I'm going to be the starting quarterback as a true freshman, and I'm going to dominate. And guess what? Every school that wanted me then still going to want me now. But guess what? I can go be a starter. Because JKS could very well. I saw my dog Felix Sharp say this. My dog Nino said it first. They said that, hey, JKS could be at Oregon next year the way Dante Moore's playing. He said it to the NFL. Worst kept secret. I'm pretty sure after the way he played, the poise he showed. We're going to talk about that game a little bit more. But program-defining win for Virginia. Like, you want to put on the tape something to remember. Hey, don't you want to be a part of UVA? You see the way our fans stormed the field? You can come here and win a game for us, and the fans can storm the field for you like that. I think that's incredible. I truly do. So, Florida State, like, how do you properly rate Florida State now? They were ranked 8th in the country. We did see some teams lose this week. But how do you look at them after this game? I think they have opportunities. They play Miami. And for what next? And what a lot of people is going to say, well, hey, they lost at UVA. Oh, Miami's going to kill him. Styles make fights. How many times you guys got to hear me say that? Styles make fights. We saw an Illinois team. Shout out to Illinois. Shout out to them. They're drinking champagne and champagne yesterday and tonight. And they played horrible versus Indiana. Indiana struggled versus Iowa, and Iowa had chances to win that game. Illinois, much improved versus a USC team that a lot of us was thinking, hey, this team is for real and can compete in the Big Ten. They was able to win that game. Because of what? Because of why? Styles make what? Styles make fights. I continue to say that. Run game for Virginia was impressive. Very impressive. Like, as a team, they had 30 carries, 130 yards, and second half and overtimes. That's old school football. And Jamari Taylor had a couple of runs, bro, that just really reminds you of those old school backs we used to see in the late 90s, early 2000s. One that come to mind was a guy by the name of Travis Henry that played at Tennessee and played with the Buffalo Bills. He wasn't, super big, so he wasn't going to, run you over, but he was great at breaking tackles, and that's what Jamari Taylor is. Low center of gravity, he's just great ability at breaking tackles, and he ran physical all night, and I thought he was that bell cow that they needed in that game, especially at times where Chandler Morris didn't look that hot and he was turning the ball over. So great game by Jamari Taylor. That's a name I think a lot of people should be buying stock in. So what is the big picture for both of these teams? I think we look at both of these teams, and I think a lot of people who were 100% buying Florida State stock, they're probably a little bit, okay, let's fall back. And, look at Alabama. We're going to talk about them shortly, but look at the way you felt about Alabama versus the way you felt about Alabama now. Look at the way you felt about UVA before the season. Look at the way you feel about UVA now. Look at the way you felt about Florida State. They were dominating, killing Circuit City University programs. They, dominated Alabama in that first game. You just didn't expect them to win a game like this, but I think, hey, it's a long season. Yes, this is an ACC loss, but I think we're going to get some cannibalization in the ACC. Miami's going to lose some games. Florida State may lose another game. That's just the name of the game. I like Louisville. Louisville will probably lose a game they shouldn't lose. That's just the way it's going to work. That's how it works in the ACC. So it'll be interesting, down the stretch as we get into the meat and potatoes of the season, the second quarter that we're in. It's going to be something amazing to see. So I think this game, the lasting thought is the resilience of Chandler Morris versus the gut punch and a regret for Florida State, knowing that, hey, we were down early, but we forced turnovers and we left some meat on the bone to say. So great game. What a great scene in Charlottesville. Truly, truly enjoyed it. Outstanding game. And I knew after that game that we were heading into a crazy week 5. I truly did. Let's go ahead and get to this next game. We got the Magnolia Bowl. I don't think there was a game that made me more happy than this game. It wasn't a game out there that made me more happy than this one. Because it was one of those times that in a weekend I was wrong a lot. It's one of the games I was right about. I looked at LSU. I looked at how stout this defense was, how outstanding this defense was. And I looked, and as great as I felt about LSU's defense, I felt the exact opposite about LSU's offense. And I knew that Caden Durham was questionable for this game. Once I seen the status, I think on Friday turned to doubtful. I was like, well, yeah, he's not playing. And knowing that, I said, all righty, they're going to struggle to run the ball. And LSU is going to dare them to run. And a lot of times what was Ole Miss doing? They were sending 3-man pressures, man. They really was. And Trinidad Chambliss, if there was any shadow of a doubt who the starting quarterback is in Ole Miss, I think Lane Kiffin is outstanding. I think he's an outstanding coach. I think he's really figured this thing out. I think we're seeing a different Lane Kiffin post, his dad passing away. I think he's a little bit more lighthearted. I think he appreciates life a little bit more. I don't know him personally. It's just what I've seen. Like, he's got this glow about him. He's got this thing about him. He's having fun. And, everything leading up to this week, talking about his daughter, Landry Kiffin, and Dayton Witt Weeks. And even when they were down after the first quarter, he said, oh, there's plenty of football left. They got a fluke touchdown down there. We're going to be okay. We just got to execute. Like, he was just so calm. He was really so calm. And Trinidad Chambliss, Lane Kiffin, listen to me and listen to me good. You probably have no clue who I am. And you will. Not yet, but it's okay. And there's no way. Austin Simmons is great. This is Trinidad Chambliss last year. And Austin Simmons, I know your idea is like, well, I should probably invest into the guy that's going to be here a little bit longer. But there's no way Trinidad Chambliss shouldn't be your starting quarterback. You win the SEC. You have an opportunity to win the SEC is what I should have said with this guy Trinidad Chambliss as your starting quarterback. So what are some of my overall thoughts from this game? Some of my instant reactions to this game. And I think it's quite clear. Like, I think this game matched the billing that it had heading into this game. These games have typically been close. Home team typically wins, even though Ole Miss should have won that game a year ago. I stand by that 100%. Trinidad Shambless is what college football is all about, right? When we watch College Game Day, I know for years we watched it for Lee Corso. Some of you guys may be watching it for Pat McAfee now. The reason I've always watched college football is their ability to tell stories. And, you learn about a player more, like, off of the gridiron. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think we've all learned so much about, Ferris State, that, all of his games combined, the crowd, the attendance was less than the game he played this weekend. And, this kid is just happy for everything. Like, they were talking about, he's happy to have Gatorade on the sidelines. He's happy for this. It's just the little things. Like, when you come from that, when you come from the struggle, and that's something you identify with, you just, I don't know. It's just thing about you. And, like, me personally, I identify with the struggle a lot. That's where I'm from. That's a part of me. It's not where I'm headed or where I'm going. My parents did an outstanding job raising me and my brothers. But I appreciate that struggle. I appreciate being a have-not. But I appreciate, watching my parents have the success that they have, living in a huge house that they live in now, and seeing them fight for that, you know what I'm saying, and come from nothing, you know what I'm saying, and I appreciate that. And when I say nothing, I mean from, like, in which they grew up at. They outstanding parents on both sides. But I don't know, like, I appreciate that. And I think somebody like Trinidad Shambless, I can see where he come from. You can see it in the way he played and the poise he played. One bad play. I'm glad that Lane Kiffin used the media to call him out on that play. Shouldn't have went out of bounds. Definitely gave LSU more clock. But, like, this entire game, I thought that if it was a close game, Ole Miss took a lead late. I'm not thinking that LSU can go down and score. That's what I was thinking. But 314 yards versus this defense is incredible. 385 yards, scrimmage yards. Like, this dude, Trinidad Shambless, is real deal. He really is. I don't see how Austin Simmons starts after this. I really did. I really don't. Right? And what are some of the nicknames that we come on that with Trinidad, man? We calling him Trinidad James. We're calling him Trinidad and Tobago. Like, what are we calling him? We got to come up with a nickname for him. We calling him T-Cham. Like, what T-Bliss. What do we call him? We got to come up with a nickname for him. Garrett Nussmeier. I put this out on Twitter yesterday. I'm sure some of you saw it. I think it's time for him to pull a Mighty Ducks. You guys remember D3 Mighty Ducks? They were the JV team. Forgot the name of the high school. They was wearing their jerseys. They had this big game versus the varsity team. They changed their jerseys into the Mighty Ducks. I think after one of the intermissions or whatever, and then came back and won a game. I think Garrett Nussmeier needs to pull a Mighty Ducks. I really do. I think he needs to pull a Mighty Ducks. Take that 18 off. I know it has such great history with it, but when you think about it, it sometimes looks like a 13 because if you take just the these parts off of the 18, it looks like a 13. But I think he needs to go back to 13. It might be mental at this time. And this is one of D-Now statements, and I love it, and I love using it. He's wasting millions with this season. He really is. He's just throwing it right in the trash can, right in the garbage. He's throwing millions. That's where millions are going for Garrett Nussmeier. So I think this number, he's heading in the wrong direction. And then I talked about Blake Baker a little bit earlier. You're really wasting what this guy is doing defensively. These defenses are playing an outstanding. You can't continue to score. You haven't scored over 20 points versus a P4 team yet. That is tragic. That is horrible, right? You're like, it was one of those things, first to 21 win the game. I truly felt that way. Whoever gets to 21 will win that game. Ole Miss got 24 and was able to win this game. So I love what Ole Miss is headed. The fact that they outgained LSU 480 to 254 tells you a lot. And the fact that Mike Denbrock was just here a few seasons ago and he had that offense clicking, it's an embarrassment. Joe Sloan, I thought he was one of those guys under 40 who will probably be looking for a head coaching job soon. He's got some things to figure out. He really do. So can Ole Miss win the SEC? That's the question that I kind of want to ask you all, and the question I want to ask myself as well. They're 5-0 right now. I think they're 3-0 in the SEC with wins over LSU, Arkansas, and Kentucky. Right? Shambless is playing outstanding. Doesn't even look like he came from the Division II ranks. Just has the poise of somebody who's been there and done that. And I just think that's what you get with an older quarterback. And that's a great part of the portal. And I look at some programs right now who's struggling at quarterback. They say, hey, why didn't you go get this kid from Ferris State in Trinidad Chambers, right? Did you do your research? So the SEC standings right now, we're going to talk about that a little bit. Ole Miss is 5-0 overall, 3-0 in the conference. Missouri 5-0 overall, 1-0 in the conference. Vanderbilt 5-0 overall, 1-0 in the conference. A&M, Oklahoma both 1-0 in the conference. They're legit contenders. Alabama's 3-1. Look here, Alabama, Georgia, LSU both 1-1 in the conference. Tennessee is 1-1 in the conference. What a great game in Starkville. Jeff Lebby is doing a great job. He's still up there for Coach of the Year for me as well. Mississippi State 0-1 before and 1 overall. Arkansas, Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, they all in the basement. So, like I said, Magnolia Bowl, it gave us everything we wanted. An outstanding game. Two teams that want to be the class of the conference. And, you know, they gave me everything that I wanted, and it's good to be right. Let's move on to this Bama UGA game. Alrighty, we had a great pair of games Saturday night. College football, we are not worthy. We are not worthy. We are just not worthy for what we were able to get. The fact that Bama, Georgia was on at the same time as Oregon and Penn State, dude, we are not worthy what we get here with college football. Granted, I was more focused on this Oregon and Penn State game just because of a few things. One of them being that I think that Penn State had a real chance and still has a real chance to win it all this year. But they have to make some major changes. They really do. And I'm so sick of James Franklin. We'll talk about him a little bit next. But Kirby Smart, you kind of got a little monkey on your back, bro. I thought you would break it. I think you're, 1-7 versus Alabama since your time in Athens. And I have long said, since Nick Saban announced his retirement, that you were the best coach in college football. I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like you're second now. I feel like Dan Lannon is the best coach in college football. And I know what everybody's response is going to be. Well, Governor, Dan Lannon hasn't won a national championship. You're right, he hasn't. But when we looked at the Pac-12, right? Yes, we're going to go back to the Pac-12. We looked at them as a finesse conference. We looked at them as an extremely finesse conference. And we said it with Washington. We said it with USC. We said it with UCLA. We said it with Oregon. When you guys go to the Big Ten, you better learn, one, how to play early games. Two, you better learn how to win ugly games. That was a lot of our perspective when the announcement, when they were, when the big conference announced that they were expanding and those teams were going there, right? You just think about the finesse of the the Pac-12, high scoring the games were elite quarterback play. The fact that Dan Lanning still hasn't lost in the Big Ten to me is mind-boggling. It really is. The fact that they've won like 13 straight regular season games, something far-fetched like that. I think he won He went 9-0 in the conference a year ago, including the conference championship. We're not going to count that playoff game. So right now he's 11-0 in the conference. He's won 11 straight games in the Big Ten. They haven't lost a Big Ten game other than the playoff loss to Ohio State. So he's doing an outstanding job, and for that reason, he is the number one coach in college football now. He's unseated Kirby Smart, and I hate saying that because I've long thought Kirby Smart was the best coach in college football. All right, so let's talk a little bit about this Bama UGA game. A lot of thoughts come to mind, right? So it's now September 28th, but this happened yesterday, September 27th, 2025, and Alabama just walked into Athens, Georgia, and ended the Georgia Bulldogs 33, you heard that correctly, 33 home winning streak. Let's say that again, 33 straight home games, right? And Kalen DeBoer, I look at some of the wins that he's had. I think this is his first true statement win as head coach for Alabama, because a lot of us started to count him out and say, oh, you might be on the high seat, Mr. DeBoer. I think that's what a lot of our thought process was, right? But I want everybody to do something. I put this on Twitter as well yesterday. I was tweeting a lot. Take yourself back to August 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alabama just walked off of the field with no effort, no hustle, nothing. Versus Florida State, they lost the war of attrition, and they got a physical beatdown. And your thoughts about Alabama at that time period. I want you to really think before I continue my thought here. How did you feel at that moment? August 30th, let's rewind the clock. Right? About, what did that be? About 30 days from the date. How did you feel about Alabama at that time period? Right? And, what a lot of us told ourselves who believed in Alabama still, because I have them making a deep college football playoff run, is they still have a lot of time, but that was bad. How can they compete with the teams in the SEC? Because that was bad. It wasn't that they lost. It was how they lost. They lost with physicality, right? and they didn't show effort. They didn't show hustle. Well, we didn't see that, yesterday in that Georgia game. They did show effort. They did show hustle, and they did show a will to win, right? And some of the questions we asked, is DeBoer built for this job? Can Ty Simpson really lead this team? Is Alabama soft now? You're right. Are they really not the same without Nick Saban, like Thomas Castellanos famously said? And are the days of the Tide terrifying people over? Those were the questions we were asking ourselves after that game. The Tide looked shaky, undisciplined, and flat out not ready for primetime. A program that was once, struck fear in the hearts of everyone. And SEC, fast forward, to last night in Athens, those same questions got answered with a bunch of execution, to be honest with you. Ty Simpson played phenomenally yesterday. Calm under fire. I probably should have watched this game a little bit more than I did. I probably, instead of watching this on my big TV that I have here, I probably should have at least had that game on my phone or watched it, over here with my setup where I got 2 monitors here. But I had so much interest in that Oregon and Penn State game that I was like, you know what? I'm sorry, Alabama and Georgia, you're second. I thought Pate made the wrong choice. He made the right choice, it looked like, both times yesterday, because I think he was also at that Illinois and USC game as well. But Ty Simpson, 24, 38, 276 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing score. The most important stat, 0 turnovers. He did not blink in a hostile environment. Like, that shows a lot. You can go on the road and you can travel well in the SEC and you can play with a great deal of execution. You can not make a bunch of boneheaded mistakes. You have an opportunity to win the conference, right? And then I think we got a true masterclass from Ryan Grubb and Kane Womack last night. What they were able to do defensively, I think at times they was able to confuse Gunnar Stockton. What Ryan Grubb was able to call, the points that they were able to score in bunches in the first half. I know in the second half they more relied on Kane Womack and the defense, but masterclass by both of these coaches. I think the way that they handled this game, and they know that, hey, we have an opportunity. What we do this week, yeah, we lost to Florida State a couple of weeks ago, but what we do this week, we can change the opinions of everybody across the country. And not that they care about our opinions. They only care about the opinions of those in that locker room. That's all they care about. But y'all must have forgot. They had that Roy Jones, y'all must have forgot moment. And it was outstanding to see. Kane Womack's defense, bro. Trying to win that war of attrition on the line of scrimmage is really difficult against Florida, who had that staple of running backs. Georgia was able to run for 227 rushing yards. But when it mattered most, 4th and 1 in the red zone, ball to Cash Jones, Alabama stuffed it. That's outstanding. That's why I said it's a masterclass by both coordinators, right? The blueprint for Alabama winning this game was possession and perfection. Perfection in the idea of we're not going to turn this ball over. Every drive is going to end in a kick, whether that's point after touchdown, field goal, or a punt. We're not giving them the ball with great field position. That was their blueprint to winning that game. It really was. Possession and perfection. Alabama possessed the ball, time of possession, 35 minutes, right? Georgia only had it 24 minutes. That means what? Let's do a little bit of math. They had the ball for 12 more minutes and 12 more seconds. That's execution. I'm sure heading into this game, when the coaches were talking, when the players not around, like, how do we win this game? We got to protect the ball, right? We got win a war of attrition on the line of scrimmage. We got possess the ball, protect the ball, war of attrition on the line of scrimmage, possess the ball, right? Possess, protect, war of attrition line of scrimmage is how they won this game. That's outstanding. When you execute it the way you want to execute it, we in a raucous environment, right? Athens can get loud, and it's sneaky loud. And the fact that they was able to go there and win that game, outstanding. Outstanding. Kirby Smart, 1-7 versus Alabama. I said this in the opening of this segment. Kirby wrong can still do no wrong in my eyes, but, 1-7 versus Bama is not good. It's not good, including the fact that, he's played Bama, twice? Since Kalen DeBoer's been in, he hasn't beaten Kalen DeBoer yet. Last year's game should have been a blowout, but Carson Beck and company, they fought to get back in the game, and then Ryan Williams made the play that we remember Ryan Williams for a year ago. But 1-7 is not good, Kirby. It really ain't. And like I said, Kalen DeBoer got a signature moment this game. Really signature moment. One of the best plays I've seen all weekend, by the way. Who drew this up? It had to be Ryan Grubb. What we're going to do is we're going to take one of the best pass protectors in the country, in Caden Proctor. We're going to put him on the trips to the left. We're going to throw him a screen and let him go get a first down. Like, who thought of that? Right? That was one of the best plays I've seen all weekend. It really was. It really was. It really was. So the fact that, just a few weeks ago, our minds were kind of set with Alabama. We knew they had a lot of season left, but we knew that they had a lot of work to do in order to change how we feel about them in our minds. And the fact that August 30th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we was like, this team ain't it. Okay, and the boy might not survive the season. Now we say, okay, this team is legit. You're right. And they have an opportunity to win the SEC. We're going to get into this last game, Oregon versus Penn State. Been a very fun episode. I hope you guys enjoy this. I will slice up each and every one of these segments, moving forward, and they will be put up on YouTube individually. All right. So let's get to this last game. We got Oregon, Penn State. A lot to talk about here. Really frustrated with this game. Not going to lie to you. My frustration, with this team through the roof. It's heartbreaking, to be honest with you. Extremely heartbreaking because in my mind, Penn State once again left a lot of meat on the bone, bro. Y'all had opportunities, man. Y'all just be playing. Even though y'all went forward on fourth down a few times, y'all still, in my estimation, be playing scared, bro. Like, just playing not to win. Play to lose by a little bit. We don't want to get embarrassed. It's our whiteout. Dude, it's your whiteout, bro. And this is the type of performance you put up during your whiteout, bro. It's not good, bro. It's not good at all. Let's just be real. In the grand scheme of things, what does this mean for both teams? In the grand scheme of things, what does this loss mean for both teams? I think this loss means a couple of things, right? As I look at it, Dan Lanning is the best coach in college football, and Oregon may be the best team in college football. Dante Moore didn't blink, bro. Didn't look nervous. Didn't look scared. I'm like, bro, this is like your second true road start. He did look a little bit shaky versus Northwestern, but only your second true road start. Granted, he did play, as a true freshman at UCLA, but it was a different system. Like, let's be real, man. It was a different system. And the fact that this kid did not blink, he went there and played the type of game he wanted to play, man. Kudos to him. Hats off to him. Hats off to Dan Lanning. There was this right before the game, and Penn State did something I'm not used to people doing. Like, typically, the away team goes out first. Every game I've been at, the away team always go out first. And, you boo them, and then the home team comes out and the crowd get electric. Penn State does it opposite. They went out first, and then you see Dan Lanning in front of his team. You can see little teardrops in his eyes, right? You can see him. He ain't crying or nothing, but just teardrops in his eyes. He's just excited for the environment, bro. Like, that environment to him was just magnificent for him. It was like the smelling salts. Like, he didn't need actual smelling salts. Just him being there, seeing the whiteout, he hyping up his team behind him. They were just ready to perform, dude. They was just ready to perform, man. And this game of college football, we talk about it. We love it. But, at the end of the day, so much comes down to simple things. Can you win the war of attrition in the line of scrimmage? Can you not turn the ball over, right? Can we make adjustments? You know what I'm saying? Like, it comes down to really simple things. And Dan Lanning and them never wavered. They never wavered at all. And then here comes James Franklin. We pissed off at him. I'm calling him a fraud. I don't care if he gets mad. Probably won't see this, but I'm calling him a fraud. It is what it is, bro. Like, yes, you have an outstanding record at Penn State, bro. But what are you now? Like 4-17, 4? It's probably like 4-21 now. I don't remember the stat. I think I have it in my notes somewhere. But I didn't even want to do this segment with notes just because I wanted to express my frustration with this program. These fans at Penn State deserve better. They deserve better, bro. They really did, man. And I think this game ended in the most Penn State way possible, but Dante Moore, I want to go back to him. Cool, calm, collected, 29-39, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns. I still can't believe. I still can't believe how poised he is. Like, he doesn't even look like the same quarterback we seen in UCLA a few years ago. Of course, different scheme, true freshman. That scheme didn't really fit his skill set. But him and Will Stein, what they got going is crazy. When Penn State scored in the first overtime, right after they tied the game up, game headed into overtime, scored in the first overtime, I'm like, all right, this is when Jim knows and his defense is going locked up. That didn't happen. And then in the second overtime, Dante Moore throws a dart. Touchdown on the first play. Camera pans to Drew Aller. Drew Aller looks nervous. He has this look in his eyes like, no, I don't want to go out there. I don't want to say that because he's a competitor, but it was just this look of like nervousness. I'm like, yo, what's going on? Like, seriously, like, what's going on? Like, why are we here? Like, why are we at this moment? Like, these are the moments you should live for. And I don't know, man. I talked about Andy Kotelnicki a little bit earlier. I didn't think this game was all his fault. I do think at times he was calling some outstanding plays. I really do. But there was just times where, like, 3 points through 4 quarters is abysmal. That's embarrassing. That's bad, bro. 3 points through 3 quarters, heading into the fourth, you're down 17-3. That's bad, bro. Like, with the talent you guys have on offense, like, that's bad. Like, it was one of those things where I said, okay, you guys played a little bit more aggressive because you guys were really aggressive on fourth downs, but it's like you weren't aggressive on first down. You weren't playing a success rate game. Like, we have outstanding running backs. Instead of running to passing, let's pass the run. Like, let's do that, right? And I don't know. Like I said, this game was an embarrassment. Like, 4-21 is that stat versus AP top 10 teams. Like, you got to go, bro. I don't care how outstanding of a coach you are. Like, this would be okay if you were at Northwestern, bro. It'll be acceptable. You're at Northwestern, bro. But you're at Penn State, a program with such an illustrious history. And I know some of it is messed up by Joe Pa and the Zan, that's however you say his name, situation. But this program has rich tradition, rich history, bro. And the fact that, everybody kind of bets against you because they don't trust you when you're playing top-tip teams. Like, I'm like, okay, this is the time for real, though. Like, for real this time, this is the time that Penn State is going to get Oregon, and they don't. They don't at all. Shout out to Tosh Lupoi. Outstanding job. Shout out to Will Stein. Outstanding job. Shout out to Dante Moore. Outstanding job. DeCorian Moore, true freshman. Outstanding job. Really, to go in that type of raucous environment, man, it's bad. We talked about Andy Kotelnicki a little bit earlier. That 3 points heading into the fourth quarter is just bad. And it's 276 total yards is bad as all. It's bad as well. And I know Oregon has a really outstanding defense, and they're kind of built on the ideology of an SEC team. We know Dan Lanning, that was his calling card. When he was at Georgia, he was a defense coordinator. But still, like, now what we're seeing is just they're playing outstanding defense. And, the fact that they're, 12-0 in Big Ten regular season play is phenomenal. They went 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. Matter of fact, they might be 11-0, unless I missed the Big Ten game that they play. I think they're 11-0 in Big Ten play. But, what Dan Lanning is doing, Dan Lanning is the best coach in college football. I've long said it was Kirby Smart. I believe Dan Lanning is the best coach in college football. Just the way he motivates his team. You think about the Colorado game a few seasons ago. We're here to play. They're here for clicks, something like that. That verbiage along that line. But the fans, man, the fans don't deserve this at Penn State. For you all to show out 111,000 deep whiteout game, like, what's the point of having a whiteout game if this is going to be your performance? Oh, yeah, we're going to, score 3 points through 3 quarters. It's a whiteout game. Who cares? What's the point of it? I'm sick of Penn State, bro. I really am. They're a good program. They're just not a great one at this point. And a lot of y'all going to get frustrated with that. They recruit really well. They do beat the teams that they're supposed to beat when it's time to play teams. And I'm talking about those that, like, you supposed to be a dude and we supposed to be them dudes. They don't show up. They don't show up. Like, we tired of the James. We almost had them. Franklin. We're tired of the James, Groundhog Day, Franklin. We're just tired of this mantra. Is this an overreaction? Probably. I think Penn State needs to move in a different direction at head coach. Celebrate them. Go get somebody else. Go. Who you gonna get? That's the question. That's the question to my question. Who you gonna get? I think it's time for him to go. That team is way too talented not to be winning. Granted, the season isn't lost, but if they did go in a different direction, who would they get? I'm sure a lot of people want that job, but who would they go get? 4-21 is just not good enough. That's just not gonna crack. Especially when you got the team you got. You got players that, like your running back room, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, Drew Allen, all this out of here. We're gonna come back. We want another shot at it. And they'll have another shot at it, but this game is just bad, man. That interception by Thielemann, the kid that they got from Purdue via the transfer portal, that was a great interception. It was actually a great play call by Andy Kotelnicki. As much as I've gotten on him this episode, it was actually a great play call. Poor execution. Like, Drew Aller 100% telegraphs that throw. So, I don't know. I'm tired of Penn State. I'm tired of talking about them. Can't wait for tomorrow's episode. It's been an outstanding episode, everyone. Sorry about that. Hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed it. We talked about quite a lot today. As I always like to say, there are no more victories in a sport that survives and advances. Why college football has the greatest regular season. And until next time, you all take care. Governor of college football, we're going to recap ACC.
Hey, that's
Two great
CJ
defensive
on
minds.
the
They have to be better on that side of the ball.